Yes, hello, my name is Freddy, and this is my style, voice, and tone presentation based on the SSR book called The Boy in the Striped Pajamas. So, moving on. Style. Uh, the quotes. Oh, wait, before we start, though, of course, before we start, what is tone? What is style, I mean? Style is the choice of words, sentence structure, and paragraph structure used to convey the meaning effectively. So, yes, moving on. What is the quote? Several days later, after the soldiers had searched every part of the house and gone into all the local towns and villages with pictures of the little boy, one of them discovered the pile of clothes and the pair of boots that Bruno had left near the fence. Chapter 20. This quote shows the style of how the book was written. The author wanted to create a style which isn't joyful. Instead, it's supposed to create some sorrow inside of us. At last, this type of style is called descriptive because the author used a lot of details in order to describe the situation. Moving on. Style part 2. And a quote. This new house is like out with. It is boring, cold, and mundane. I hate it here. Chapter 5. And what I wrote to it. Gretel wanted to use persuasive techniques to convince her father to go back to their old house since this one had nothing which seemed to give her a point in staying in Krakow, where there was a concentration camp, the biggest one in the world, of course. And they were living next to it since her father and Bruno's father was the general of it, like a very high person. So yeah, voice. So moving on. So what? So what is voice? Voice is the speech and thought patterns of characters in a narrative. And the quote: "He has a lot of kindness in his soul. Truly he does, which makes me wonder." Chapter 6. And what I wrote to it. In this quote, narrator voice wasn't used because it's a quote where a character is talking to a character. So when I mean narrator voice wasn't used is because there are two voice types. There is a narrator voice and character voice, and in this one there was only the character voice used because, well, the quote explains it that there was only a character, there was a certain character talking another character. So yeah, and there wasn't no narrator talking over it all. Voice part 2. And the quote. Father stayed at Outwood for another year. Another year. After that, and became very disliked by other soldiers whom he ordered around mercilessly. He went to sleep every night thinking about Bruno, and he woke up every morning thinking about him too. Chapter 17. What I wrote, and what I wrote with. The voice goes always in pairs with the style. Always. The type of voice used in this quote is called the narrator's voice because the narrator is the one who talks over everything and explains what happened to the rest of the family. And in my previous presentation, which I did about the actual book, they said that basically the only kid, the only son in the family died because of his dad's job, we can say. And moving on, tone. Well, what is tone? I'm sorry. What is tone? Certain words in a specific way to convey nonverbal observations about specific subjects. And the quote. Well, you've been brought here against your will, just like I have. If you ask me, we're all in the same boat. And it's leaking. So that's chapter 12. And in this quote, we can feel what pain the author wanted to transfer to us. In addition, the type of style which was used in this quote is, in my opinion, descriptive again, because the author used an extra sense of descriptive style. Okay, yes, so hello, I'm sorry that the video a bit paused, but the software crashed which I'm using to record the screen. So moving on. So the metaphor which I was talking about here, because the author used a metaphor to add an extra sense of descriptive style, is this one. If you ask me, we're all in the same boat and it's leaking. So same boat is probably the juice in the actual metaphor. So moving on to the last one. He suddenly became convinced that if he didn't do something sensible, something to put his mind to use, then before he knew it, he would be wandering around the streets having fights with himself and inviting domestic animals to social occasions too. So, chapter 6. And what I wrote to responding here is the author wants us to feel sorrow and sadness. Oh, I'm sorry, it's a mistake here. The author wants us to feel sorrow and sadness because of all the things which happened. At the end of the book, the author wanted us to feel sorrow in order to give us a good view of the World War II and basically all the concentration camps and everything what happened inside of there. So yes, summaring up, the ending was a sad ending because both of the boys died and their friendship well didn't last that long since Shmuel was a Jew which was trapped in the concentration camp, and Bruno was actually the one which should have been the enemies to him, but luckily they created a friendship. So this is the end, and thank you very much. This was my presentation, and yeah, have a great day.